Welcome to the Vegan Squad Pod, a podcast made to inspire vegans to become activists. Join us and our guests as we deep dive into effective forms of activism that we believe will change the world. Whether it's going to vigils, building a physique that shows people we don't need to eat animals, public speaking, or any other form of activism that you'll hear on this podcast, we want to empower you to find your voice and to speak up for justice. Thank you so much for being here and enjoy the episode.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Vegan Squad Pod. Today, it's going to be a little bit different. It's normally unscripted, but today is even less scripted. We're here joined with two amazing warriors for the animals. We have Magers and Jessica Nieves, who are on the front lines at the Ridgland dog rescue this last weekend. And if you haven't seen this, it's mind-blowing. Even last night, I was still revisiting footage and just blown away by the reality that we live in, and that these 2,000 beagles are illegally still present, still being tested on, still having experiments carried out on them. But we have so many people working together to fight for them. And we have two of my biggest heroes on the podcast today to share what it was like to be there and why we need to keep speaking. So Jess, Ella, I don't have a script today. I'm just here to be with you both and to hear about your experience and to share why you did this and why we need to keep speaking.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us on the show. And thank you for all your support and love and all the work you guys did, helping spread the word and get it out there, and now getting our story out there. And I always want to bring it back to the whole reason why so many people went from all over the country. It's about the animals. It's about the dogs and the cruelty that they're experiencing every single day, and whatever is going on. And there's a lot being uncovered now as to why they haven't been protected, why they haven't been saved from the cruelty that they're going through. So I don't know. Do you want us to start with our story? Like, Jess, what do you think is the best place to start? There's just so much to unpack.
I know. I mean, I feel like I could start from March 15th because that kind of just lit a fire, as far as I'm concerned. Is that good?
Yeah. Like, how did you hear about it? Because I'd love to share how I heard about it too.
Yeah. So I actually was communicating with somebody on Facebook who said that she has multiple rescues at home. And she was like, I'm preparing to be able to accept up to like 6 beagles from this rescue that's going to be happening on like March 16th, because that was the day. And I was like, what are you talking about? I didn't hear about this. So she told me, and I was just like, oh my God, that is freaking amazing. I need to know, and I need to watch what's going on. So the 15th shows, the 15th comes along, and I'm like in bed with my daughters, like chilling out next to me. And I'm on Facebook scrolling, and all of a sudden I see Wayne, I see it being live streamed on the 15th, early in the morning. And I immediately connected what this woman told me. And I was like, oh my God, like this is going down right now. And I just got really emotional about it. I'm an emotional person. I just am. I cry a lot, and I just express. And I saw that and I was like, oh my God, like they're getting in there and they're taking these babies out, and yeah, I saw Wayne get arrested, right away after he broke in and, walked away with the dog and everything. And I was just so inspired. And I don't know, I just said, if something is going to happen again, like I need to be a part of it. I have no idea what's possible or what's in the future. But I was so, my eyes were glued on that the entire day. And that's all I thought about. And my daughter and I were talking about it, and I showed my other 2 kids. And then, lo and behold, Wayne gets out of jail and he says that, we're going to plan something else. And then I was like, oh my God, I so want to be part of it, but there's no freaking way. There's no way that I could do that. Like financially, I can't do it. And then I was like, well, my kids, like I've never been away from them, for any amount of time necessarily. And then Ella, had mentioned in our group that if anybody is interested, she may be able to help. And I was just like, oh my God, like yes, I'm gonna do whatever it takes, and then I'll be connected. And I just felt like I needed to be there. I want to be a part of this massive rescue because I really felt like this was going to like change things. I felt like it was going to be something major that was going to change things for these dogs, for animal testing, for animals in general. I don't know. I just felt like it had the potential. And I've been involved in animal rights for a long time. And, we've had so many wins, especially in the fur, with the anti-fur campaigns. But I felt like I really needed to be a part of this because I do a lot of social media, but this is big, and I'm so grateful, Ella, to you for that. Oh my God, I am so grateful because, you helped me tremendously. And I had this opportunity that I never, ever would have had otherwise. And, even though we went through what we went through, it's for the animals, and I would do it again, any amount of times.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And I didn't see it immediately when it happened on the 15th, but I got a text message from my friend's husband, my friend Jennifer Twerkin's husband, and it said Jennifer wanted me to send this to her friends if I hadn't heard from her. And it started off, "Hi friends, if you're getting this, I'm likely in jail." And then it went on to explain what's going on at Ridgland. And I felt so proud of her. She had never done anything like this before. She's been in, the vegan and animal space for a long time, but had never done something this bold, taken direct action like this. So I was so proud of her. She did get out of jail immediately. So I spoke with her. And yeah, the same as you, Jess, when they kind of announced that they were going to plan something bigger and going back, I mean, there was no question in my mind. I knew immediately that I was called to be there. And the crazy thing, one of the crazy things is lots of crazy things, but I was actually supposed to be on a yacht that week. I had helped my client plan his trip and had a whole like vegan menu on this yacht. That was where I was supposed to be. And I said, this is my livelihood, and this is, my client. And I reached out to him and said, I know I'm supposed to be on a yacht, and I was going to be, personal training him and his friends, and was helping with the nutrition on the menu and all that. And I said, I know I'm supposed to be there, but here's what's happening. And this means a lot. And I feel like I need to be there. And without a hesitation, he said, yeah, I think you need to be there too. Not only that, he said, and I will sponsor you and a few of your friends to be able to make that trip. So I was just blown away. And I think that's one, we're going to talk about a lot of really the dark side of humanity here today, the darkest of the dark. And we saw both from this experience. We saw the darkest side of people, and we saw the most beautiful side of people, coming together and supporting, and all with just such love and compassion in their hearts, coming from this place of just total love and compassion. So big shout out to my client, because he really helped make this possible for a few of us that got up there.
Thank you. Thank your client. I mean, that's beautiful. Wow.
I didn't even know. That's really, like, I was thinking about it logistically, to get that many people on the ground and all at the same time. The resources to do so must have been staggering. I think right now it would be really helpful for people to understand why you both felt called to do this. And I think I have an understanding, but I'm sure there's even more for me to learn about why you did this and why it mattered to you, and why it's important that we rescue these dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry.
I'll go after you.
Personally, like I mentioned, I've been in the animal rights space for quite some time. I've been vegan for, over 7 years. And prior to that, I did a little bit of activism in different forms. And I am so called to help animals. It's just, I don't know. I just feel it in my soul and in my heart. And this is what I'm going to be doing until I die. Like, there's no question. There's no question. And everybody who knows me, like, they know that. They know that this is my passion. This is my drive. This is like my reason for living. You know, I have children, you know, and I hope that doesn't sound bad, but, you know, I mean, they're my heart, you know, of course, but, you know, this is where it is for me. And they don't have a voice. They have no way. I mean, they have a voice, but like nobody's listening, right? They cry, they, you know, scream, but nobody is listening. So we have to do that for them. We just have to. And I'm not going to accept silence. Like, I'm just not. And I refuse to be silent about it, despite like the mocking and the ridicule. You know, I get hundreds and hundreds of people making fun of me on social media. But you know what? I don't care, you know, because they need us. And these dogs specifically, like, I'm an animal lover. I'm a dog lover. I wasn't always. I was afraid of dogs like my whole life until I was like 30. So, you know, but just knowing what they are experiencing and knowing, you know, I had a dog who was my soul pup, and I would have done anything in the world for my dog. And to know that there are so many others suffering this way, it blows my mind, and it hurts me so badly that this exists. And I don't know, I just feel like there has to be something done. We have to physically get them out of there, and we need to change laws. We need to do whatever it takes to change laws and make this like non-existent any further. Like, it cannot be a thing. It just can't. And I don't know, this is just my stance on it. I'm very strong and passionate about it, and I won't stop. I just won't.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And for me, and we talk about, yeah, I hear oftentimes we say the voice for the voiceless. They do have voices, like you said, Jess, and we don't hear them. They're silenced. So we have to get their voices out there. And in this case, many of them actually don't have a voice because they actually cut their vocal cords without anesthesia. Like, this is what we're talking about, the kind of cruelty we're talking about here. We're talking about non-veterinarians, non-trained people trying to perform cherry eye surgery. And we have literal whistleblowers that have gone in, and was like Scott Gilbertson was asked when he went undercover inside Ridgland to hold a dog down while somebody who was not a veterinarian tried to cut the cherry eye out, and blood everywhere, no anesthesia, no pain medicine, and then just left to bleed. This is the kind of cruelty. This is felony level animal cruelty that the law should be protecting them. And yet the law is coming after us instead. And they've been working on this. We just stepped in, you know, a few weeks ago. They've been working on this for over a decade. This place has been open for decades. And for me, you know, I told my story on this podcast before. I stopped eating animals when I was 7 years old, when I made that connection to the food on my plate, that it was actually an animal. And I was like, what the fuck? We're eating animals? Like, I have a dog, I have a cat, and we're eating an animal? Like, it blew my mind. So I stopped eating animals when I was 7, went vegan at 15, and spent actually many years as a teenager as a leader in the animal rights community, thinking that if only people knew what was happening behind the closed doors of factory farms and laboratories, if only people knew, they would go vegan or just like me. So I just was out to spread the word. And of course, it was a bitter pill to swallow when I realized that it actually made people angry that I was trying to share that information. So I went a different route, you know, for much of my life. I went the fitness route of inspiring people and, you know, having a physique that people wanted. So they'd come up to me and ask me how I did it. And when I said I was eating all plants, they were actually interested and wanted to hear about how they could maybe do it without eating animals. But it wasn't enough. I feel like this has come full circle for me. When I heard about this, and largely also, you know, finding a meeting place. These dogs are ambassadors in a sense, because so many people can get behind, like, can make that connection that these are sentient beings. These are dogs. I have my own dog. So you know dogs, and people are outraged, many of whom are not vegan. So we're reaching people with this who are not yet made the connection to farmed animals, but can make the connection and are outraged about these dogs. So what a great place for us all to meet, and for them to be connected to other people and vegans that also care about farm animals, and what an opportunity we have here. I mean, we got to keep this for now about these dogs and get these dogs out. And, you know, just thinking a little bit ahead, this can be such an opening to help people start to expand their circle of compassion, to include other sentient beings, to include the farmed animals, to understand why people would go risk their lives and freedoms, not only for dogs, but also for a chicken, you know, which many people have. So I feel like this is such a huge opportunity we have. And I feel like we need to really be strategic as we move through this to help keep people engaged and keep people welcomed. And just like you guys do at Vegan Squad, like we do at Vegan Squad, be really welcoming to all people so that we can keep people in the loop and help them make that connection moving forward.
Right.
I feel like there's been some scrutiny on what occurred this last weekend. Publicly announcing a rescue obviously gave the authorities plenty of time to prepare, to bring in law enforcement officers. There was a moat that was dug with, I believe, animal manure was placed in the moat. They had hay bales. And I think from a rescue standpoint, some people might be upset and say, why didn't this happen in private? Why didn't someone go in and get the dogs in the middle of the night? And I think it's almost like we have two different games to play. Game is maybe not the right word. Two different objectives. One objective is to save these 2,000 dogs. The other objective is to save all the dogs. And this is the largest, at least in the United States, rescue mission ever for animals. Largest coordinated effort ever. And it's now on major news networks. It's getting put out there. It's been all over social media. And I think had we done a nighttime operation that just saved these dogs, not many people would know about this. But now, because of the brutality and the force that you, Jess and Kaul, were met with there, the world knows. I have friends in Germany and in Spain that know about this. So while we may have, depending upon how you look at it, maybe lost this battle, well, now the war is now known worldwide. And I think that's even more important. I think there's no way that people haven't gone vegan just from seeing this happen. People that didn't even think about animal rights existing beyond dogs. And so I think it's so incredible what the two of you and all of you have done to make this happen. I also think, kind of rambling now, but I want to cover a couple topics before we dive into your experiences on the ground. But people are probably wondering, why is Ridgland Farms doing this? Why do they have these dogs? And I think it's also important to look at the supply chain. It's like we can't just be upset with slaughterhouse workers. We also have to be upset with the CEOs of these companies and also the demand, the purchasing, and why are people paying for this? And I found yesterday the buyers list, and places like the University of Chicago, University of Missouri, there's Texas A&M University, University of Georgia, LabCorp. I even saw like Merrick Animal Health. Like all of these organizations and entities are making Ridgland possible because they're the ones purchasing dogs.
Yeah.
So this is a whole supply chain that we need to break through. And I think starting with Ridgland, but we need to work down through all of these and hold everyone accountable and get this out there for everyone to know. So I just think it's a massive project, but also you got the support of the world right now. And I think that is huge. So anyways, I said a lot. I will digress here. If there's anything that you want to reply or if you want to tell about your day there.
Yeah, no, we should definitely talk about our day there. I just want to explain that to the best of my knowledge. So if I get something not quite right, I'm basing off of a lot of the information that I know to the best of my ability. But so they've got 2,000 dogs, and for the most part, their operation has been a breeding and selling facility. So the vast majority, I'm talking maybe all but 50 or so dogs were bred to be sold to these other research institutions, and they have a small on-site testing facility, research and testing facility of their own. From my knowledge, they do, one of the examples of research they've done was for Merck. Look, all our dogs have rabies vaccines. They work great, right? And what kind of research? They are trying to get a new patent on a new rabies vaccine, Merck, purely so they can have a patent and make money, purely for profit. They are giving dogs rabies and watching them go mad so that they can make money. This is not, I just want to be real clear here. This research is for profit. It is not for the well-being of anyone except the people that own this facility. So that being said, you know, things are coming out each and every day about what's going on, why the authorities are not stepping in to actually enforce the laws. And interestingly, their number of dogs they use for research all of a sudden has started to increase exponentially. So when it was 50, now all of a sudden, I think it went to 200. And now they're claiming 500 of their dogs. And this is because in July 1st, they're forfeiting their selling license, their breeding to sell license. But they're not shutting down because they will still have the ability to breed and utilize research in their facility. So that's why we have got to keep fighting, and we've got to keep uncovering, you know, what's going on behind the scenes, who's profiting, who's getting paid off, you know, and we are hard at work at that. So yes, we didn't get the outcome we wanted. We, you know, of course, we wanted every dog out of there that day, but we are not stopping the fight.
Thank you, Ella.
Absolutely.
So I know this would be, I have no idea. I have no idea what this will be like for you two to share what it was like to be there. But I feel like that's part of why you went, wasn't just to go, but also to share your story and to tell what you saw. And yeah, let's hear whatever you feel comfortable sharing this time.
Yeah, we were all trained extensively in nonviolent direct action. Number one, I want to put that out there because a lot of the media is spinning this. You know, there's a lot of, I mean, so much public support. There's also trolls, and there's also media that's spinning this in a wrong direction, talking about violence when the only violence that's being committed here is against the dogs and from the police to our end. Violence is, you know, I had the definition of violence pulled up. It's, you know, it's the intent to do physical harm to a person, to another being. So, you know, the only, you know, thing they're calling violence, and I was interviewed for a local mainstream media outlet. I told them everything. What clip did they put up? A car going through a fence, and called us violence. That's not the definition of violence. And we don't know what happened there, but there was never any whatsoever intention to harm anybody on our end, but it was nothing but intention to hurt us moving in. And when we got there, we hadn't even gotten to the fence, and they started pummeling us with tear gas. And I don't know about you, Jess, but like the very first, and our team had the role of working on moving the hay bales into the trenches full of shit to create bridges for other people to be able to cross, because these were people of all walks of life coming with us. There were elderly people in their 60s, 70s, maybe even 80s, disabled people. There was young people. There was people of all different from the political spectrum. Like, it was such a unifying event in that way. So our job, we had the fit team, of course, representing Vegan Squad. But we had the role of going to try to move the hay bales and put them into the trenches so people could climb over them. But we barely got to the hay bales, and they started throwing from the other side of the fence. We caused no threat to them. And I remember that first can of tear gas for me was so intense. We had no idea that they were going to be, you know, coming at us with literal like chemical weapons, right? And it just gets in your eyes. You can't see. Gets in your lungs. You can't breathe. You feel like you're gonna die, like suffocate to death. And I won't like do a monologue here. So, but that was just the first experience, and I was like, shit, this is not how this was supposed to go. And they gave no indication of that they were planning on coming after us to that degree, with chemical weapons, with rubber coated steel bullets this big. I mean, breaking people's bones, shooting people in the back, of all different types of people. It's the pepper spray being sprayed at close range in people's eyes. I saw 20 feet from me a man get tackled to the ground, knee on his back, 2 officers with their gas masks, with all their weapons, take a can out. He looked about unconscious at that point. He was on the ground with his hands behind his back, looked unconscious. They took the can of tear gas, put it on his face, let it explode. And I saw the puffs of smoke sit in his face. And I had been, 10 feet away from the tear gas, and I was suffocating. This was in his face, and they held it there. And people were around screaming, for the love of Jesus, let him up. He's going to die. And they ignored us. They kept it in his face. They let him sit there. They did not have any EMS coming. People called ambulances. They didn't come. And they let him sit there. He finally came to, and he's alive and okay. But that's the kind of violence that we experienced that day. And people were holding their hands in the air. They were holding flowers. They were telling officers, we love you. We are just here to help the dogs. That was the scene. And this was for hours. It was literally a war zone. Our friend and co-lead, Christy Karst, she's ex-Army, and she said she's never seen anything like this, even coming out of literal war zones. And this is all people there to save puppies that are being criminally abused, that are having vocal cords cut, eye surgeries, that live in 2x4 wire cages for their entire lives, never seeing the light of day, never getting to socialize, never getting to have a loving touch or a soft blanket or a bed to lay on. This is what we were there for. And so, like you said, I would do it again, but it was an extreme situation.
Yeah. It was, mentioning the tear gas, that first experience. Honestly, when we were driving in the car, when we were all together in the Jeep, right? Or the
SUV, yeah.
With our driver, as soon as we were like 2 minutes away, I totally tensed up. And I was like, you go into like this fight or flight state, because you're like, you don't know what you're going to be faced with. And I just started like deep breathing. And Beth, who was next to one of our, teammates, she was next to me. I started like deeply breathing, and then she started doing it too. And I just felt right then, I was like, I gotta freaking pee. I just like, everything was just like coming all at once. Like you just get so scared. And then when we went over those hay bales, and I heard the guy say, the was it security guy, say something about us trespassing or whatever, and we tried pushing and we couldn't push. So we tried like ripping the netting so that we can, the idea was to like spread the hay out, like just to like make it easier. And, he threw that tear gas, and we didn't know what the heck hit us. I literally, I don't know, I almost passed out. Like I started shaking, and I felt like I couldn't breathe and I couldn't see. And I was, like, I'm just going to pass out right here. I thought I was going to die. Like I had no idea what was going to happen. And I didn't have I lost like my ability to even go over the hay, the hay bale. Like I know a couple people went before me, and I was like, I can't even freaking, like I didn't have the strength to like go over the hay bale. And then somebody like grabbed both arms and like pulled me over. It was crazy. We did not expect that. And I didn't even realize they were shooting at us until I saw the video after, as far as like those rubber bullets. I didn't realize it. I saw it, and I saw myself duck down like before I even went over, but I didn't remember that registering at all. Like, I don't know. It was crazy. it's like so intense and so scary. And then, yeah, it was nonstop. We tried going to the fence line. We were following direction. Dean, who was Wayne's right hand, he was so amazing. He was so calm. And he was like, you guys are okay. You're okay. Tear gas. It's all right. We're going to get through this. He's telling us to shallowly breathe. I had no idea how to breathe. One person told us to breathe deeply, but we couldn't really breathe, and then he was telling us to breathe shallowly, which, with our hands over our mouth and our nose. And then at one point he was gone. And, I feel like before we started to really be pummeled, Aiden, who was, I think he's the third, right? The third down from Wayne, I would say.
And I don't know if the hierarchy works exactly like that, but Dean and Aiden, yeah.
Dean and Aiden, and he had told us, let's just all go over to the fence line. This is our push. This is our last time, because in between people were trying to breach the fence and were not successful because they were being, sprayed in the face with pepper spray and harmed. We all just tried to go, against the fence line, and we kind of like lined up in a couple of rows with our backs against the fence, and they just started like bombing us, like one after the other, I felt like, and there was smoke all over the place. And we just, we had to go to the ground, of course, and that first time and that last time, or I think that they probably threw some after that, but that experience, I feel like those 2 times were the most intense and scary, because even though we had masks on and everything, there was so much smoke. There was so much around us that it didn't really help so much, and I felt it, you feel it going in your lungs and you just can't breathe. Yeah, that was just so horrible.
And I think oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I just on that note, I think it must linger around. I went to the gym this morning to teach my boxing class, and like my lungs do not feel the same. My skin is my face gets weird and peeling, and like these are real chemicals that
burns you. Yeah.
Right? And that I think the effects last. And there's people, I was looking on our chats, and there's somebody who went to the emergency room last night. So these effects don't
lasting.
They last.
Yeah, that was some scary shit. And, oh no, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was talking to Alexis last night, when I was explaining some of what was going on. And I do remember like looking around a couple of times, and I felt like I was like in a daze, and I was just like looking around, and I was like, I could not believe what was happening around me. It's kind of like you're there, but you're not there, just like looking. And another thing I thought was like, oh my God, we need more people. I felt like, but what would that have done? That would not have done anything. Right. But I still felt like we need more people. Like we need more, like it felt very insecure, in a space where we could just be like, you just don't know what's going to happen. And I held on to one of our teammates for dear life. We, like Beth and I, and then like when a few of our teammates who ended up like leaving us the night before, when they learned what our roles were going to be, they found us. And so we all rejoined, and we were kind of like stuck at the hips. Like we were holding on. And every time I lost Ella, I was like, where's Ella? Is Ella around? Like I just felt like I needed, like a little bit of security, because it was such a tense and scary situation to be in. And like, I just felt like if I lost them, that I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? Like, I don't, like, we're all there for the same purpose. And I remember Dean saying, if you lost your team, don't worry about it. We're all here together, but I still felt like I needed that like sense of security, to have people that I know with me to endure what we were enduring, Yeah, I'm sorry, Alex.
No, you're so good. You're so good.
You got something else?
Go ahead.
I thought Alex had something.
Some people don't know this, but I have a former background in law enforcement. So I've been trained, I've been tased, I've been pepper sprayed. I've never been in a situation quite like what the two of you went through. I don't think anywhere near that. But I can say, like, for those that haven't experienced pepper spray or tear gas, it's exactly like this is me around safe people in a safe environment, still thinking I was possibly going to die, thinking it can't actually be this bad. Maybe I'm having an allergic reaction and I might be dying. And it was probably the worst pain I've been in for an hour straight. It affects everyone a little bit differently. It definitely lingers. It is an extreme irritant. It dries your skin to the point that anything that touches your skin will hurt. Your face will be messed up for a few days later. Internally, I don't even know. It did feel impossible to breathe. And this for me was in a safe place that I knew like I couldn't get hurt and there was an ambulance on standby in case something did happen. So I can't imagine without that training and knowledge of what I was being hit with, how the two of you pulled through that. Like sincerely, like you are some of the strongest people I know on this planet. It's so inspiring and empowering to see. And I'm like twice both of your size. Like you put you together, I'm still bigger, and I still would have been terrified to have been in your shoes. And I think I hate that this is the way that it is, but I'm glad they tear gassed you. I'm glad they shot people and broke bones, because that's the only way people will listen. Is good people are gonna have to get hurt for people to care about anything for these dogs. And I couldn't be more appreciative of the two of you and everyone that showed up. And I also can't feel anything else that would make me feel more alive than to continue to support things like this. Like this is all I think about from the time I wake up until the time I go to bed. And to know that there's other people out there doing this and doing it even on a bigger scale than myself is just so inspiring. So sincerely, thank you both. I'm at a loss for words, which is hard for me. I'm just so grateful for both of you.
I think you hit the nail on the head, John, in terms of this is what it takes. Because, you know, understandably, immediately after, the vast majority of people who came are not activists. They're just normal people, you know, wanting to help. And this gave people an outlet. And I think people feel so helpless a lot of the times, you know, caring, but not feeling like they have a way to help. And this gave them something to do. This gave them an action to take. This gave them a place to go and be surrounded by other people, and do something to make a change. So, you know, that's the crowd that was there. And whenever said a bunch of activists, I'm like, no, this was a bunch of normal people, right? Who care. And, you know, so understandably, right afterwards, people were like, felt completely, you know, traumatized by what we went through. A lot of people felt some anger towards the leadership of who organized this. You know, how could they not know that they were going to be tear gassing us? How could they not tell us? People have calmed down, and there's a lot more understanding now. That was just kind of a trauma response. But I think what you said is just absolutely true. If this hadn't have happened, we might not have made the national news. We might not have gotten the attention that we're getting. We might not have the momentum and the pressure put on the decision makers who can do something about this, who can hold people accountable for not enforcing the laws, and shutting this place down and releasing these dogs. So because of this, and like we said, we'd do it again. I would do it again, as scary as it was, if this is the outcome. So we got to keep going. We just got to keep going.
Yeah. I also want to say, like, you know, having endured what we went through, I do feel like, and having like people around the world witnessing what happened, I feel like we definitely need to fight for this win for the animals, because I think that when people, you know, just as an example, I have done a lot of like disruption and pressure campaigns in my, you know, history of animal rights. And, you know, you get to see wins in certain sectors, and seeing those wins, just, it pushes you and it makes you feel like, you know, we can do this. We can really make an impact, and we can help animals. So I just feel like we need this win so badly, because in a way, I almost feel like this could be just very discouraging to people to give, like, You give your 1,000%, like more than anybody has ever given before. And if something bad happens to these dogs, it's gonna destroy me, you know? Like I feel that way. Like we have to see them out, you know, and we have to continue until they're out. We can't stop. You know, we just can't. I mean, I'll continue anyway, but it's gonna freaking really mess with a lot of people, you know, to go through something like this and not see them free like they deserve, and not, you know, put a dent in experimentation against all animals. You know, we have to just do this.
And we have a limited time window here. And because we're putting July 1st, right? They lose their breeding license, but they've got 2,000 dogs. So they have the option to sell them, which now a lot of the pressure's on to the people they're selling to and the organizations they're selling to. They don't want to buy from them, a lot of them. And we're putting pressure on to make sure that they don't get bought, because that just puts them into a life of animal testing, vivisection, and all the things. And out of spite, they were offered $1 million for these dogs on Saturday. There was a donor that was offering them $1 million to release the dogs, and they said no. They are now are spiteful, and the other option is euthanizing these dogs, and they would rather euthanize these dogs out of spite than do the right thing. And it just, I really am somebody who wants to see the good in humanity and to believe that people are good people, you know, and I do. But this makes it really hard when we can't even agree on puppies. That makes it hard. And like you said, Jess, like this is life or death for these 2,000 dogs, and we have till July 1st, and we need people to help keep the pressure on. And SaveTheDogs.io is where you can go to learn more. So I'm gonna keep putting that out there.
And call up with the Attorney General and the DA
and the governor, who's saying, everybody's saying, I don't really have any control. The governor's like, somebody else will take care of it. We've stormed, like we went into the Capitol. So I've been nonstop since Saturday. Like Sunday morning, I was up at 5 and I joined like the communications team, and we started writing press releases, and we started going with it. And I haven't stopped for a second yet. So I will be processing all this later. For now, I'm just, my therapy is to continue to put in the work. And but yeah, so we went to the Capitol building and had a press conference there. A lot of the people that were seriously injured came and spoke. You know, older people that got shot by the rubber bullets had, you know, major teeth knocked out. Somebody had 2 of their teeth knocked out. Yeah, they spoke, and then we went up to the governor's office and said, we want him to break his silence. He's sitting here as the governor of the state. You've got this insane event happening. You've got this cruelty taking place. You've got your own, you know, state troopers there. Like, this is a state issue. And he's saying, I'm not going to even talk to you. We sat there for hours outside. And they refuse to even speak. And there are things coming out about, you know, ties inside Ridgland and the head veterinarian and his family, and there's something with the sheriff's department.
Corruption. It's corruption at like its finest, right? Oh my God.
And then, you know, you think about all these other surrounding towns, their resources went into this. So people need to be angry about, hey, my town, this is not even my town, and yet my taxpayer dollars are going to my police department, who decided to go over and attack these people. Like, those are my tax dollars attacking those people. This is not even my town, right? Like, there are things like that we are working on mobilizing to make sure that, you know, the masses, the public, have their voices heard, because that's where politicians are going to react to, because it's their job on their line. So that's really important, of course, to everybody in Wisconsin, but all over the country. Continue to bring this in, spread the word, share the stories, keep this story in the headlines so that we can keep the pressure going. So if people can share this podcast, share the social media that everyone here puts out that you find, keep sharing it. We've got to keep the pressure on, because that's how we could win this. Mark Pocan, he's a congressman for Wisconsin, right? He's come out. He spoke to RFK Jr. and said, look, your dollars, your NIH dollars, you say you're against animal testing now and you're phasing it out, but you're supporting Ridgland Farms. Look what's happening. And RFK Jr. was like, I don't know, I'm gonna have to look into that. I'm not sure about that, you know. But we've got Mark Pocan now, you know, on our side, and his biggest concern seems to be, well, what are we gonna do with the 2,000 dogs? Those 2,000 dogs are accounted for. We've got rescues that are lined up. They are ready to take these animals in. We have over 1,000 people that have applied to adopt these dogs. We've got homes for these dogs.
Yep.
All that needs to happen is somebody in power needs to take the stand, and they need to get these dogs out of here and into these homes.
I just want to say
The thought that keeps coming.
no, Alex, you're going to talk this time.
Okay. Thank you. The thought that keeps coming to my mind is like, I just don't understand what's in it for the politicians and for the people in those labs, just the people on the dark side of this. Like, it just makes no sense. Like, if they could tap into their compassion that they have to have deep down, it's just like, it's really not that difficult to have compassion for these animals. I don't understand the people who can work in those types of environments and support those types of things, like knowing that those dogs are having surgeries with no anesthesia, knowing the conditions that they live in, and to just prepare for this protest and be so violent in it, and to just not empathize with the animals at all. It just blows my mind. And I understand they're in power and there's money and everything, but it's just crazy to me that they're so concerned about their image and the money than lives that are at stake, and not being able to empathize and just put themselves in the shoes of these animals. And to even go as far as like, well, what's going to happen to the dogs? Like, it's the similar argument to me that people say, like, well, if we stop producing animals for food, what's going to happen to all these animals? They're just going to roam the fields. Like, it's just like, no, they're going to be rescued and be able to live their life in peace and not be tortured and suffer. It's insane to me. And I'm really grateful for y'all showing up and just being there and going through everything that you did. It sounds extremely terrifying, and speaking up and sharing the message and being here, and just risking your safety and continuing to push for these dogs and for this mission. And I do think that it will be a bridge to connect with other animals out there that are suffering. This is a door for people to see and empathize with animals that go through very similar things that animals that are farmed for food, for clothing, anything go through. So just very grateful for y'all.
Thank you. I wanted to add also, I had said this to a couple of people, and I believe this. Like, in this country, a lot of people are anti-cop, they're anti-law enforcement, and all eyes were on these officers. All eyes from all over, from Spain, from France, from Canada, from, all across the world. They had the opportunity handed to them to show compassion and to show that they care about animals and they care about people, and they were going to do the moral and just thing. And they totally blew it in front of the entire world. Like, I can't, they had such a platform. I just don't get it. Like, why? People, I feel like people would have seen them as heroes, and people would bow down to them. Like, oh my God, imagine. And they totally did the complete opposite and just showed the masses what they already think, like reaffirmed their ideas and their thoughts about law enforcement.
I'm sure the individuals were terrified. Like, no doubt. I can only imagine how scared they'd be if you got through the fence. Because those are numbers that are like, I worked in a jail setting, knowing that there's like one officer for every 50 to 60 inmates. Like, they're basically in control. And so I'm not excusing any of their actions. I think that if there was any ever of a time to walk away from your job or your career, or your position, or to take a stand, that was a pretty obvious one. But I have no doubt, Alex, to answer your question, the easiest way to understand this is money. We fight wars. We kill humans for money. So dogs, easy, money. And I'm sure that there's corruption even within the sheriff's office. I'm sure. And I'm sure that they said, if you don't do what we tell you to do today, you're getting screwed. Your family's getting screwed. You're kicked out. You're going to go to jail yourself. Good luck. I'm sure they put all sorts of pressure that I like to think I would have walked away from, but it's very hard to say unless you're in those shoes. And the same thing, it's no different than a slaughterhouse worker. A lot of people there are not choosing this job because they love it. And I'm sure that there are vets that ended up at Ridgland because that was the best job they could get for whatever reason. And then hopefully some walked away, but clearly some didn't. And so I think what you guys have done, Jess and Ella and everyone else, is so incredibly powerful, because this is exactly how we fight on the big scale. Of course, as vegans die hard for the cause, we want every conversation to go well every time that we're speaking to one individual. This, in my eyes, at least in my life, has been the biggest animal rights movement that I've ever been a part of, the biggest organization or organized activity, unified through so many different people here. And I think that's where we can really take the win here, is the number of connections that have been made, the number of voices that have been heard now, the number of people that know about this story that never would have heard about it a month ago. It's absolutely powerful. And I think that this is where we can sit back and say, like, we did the right thing, and this is how we make big worldwide change within our lifetime. I think all of us have been working up to this moment right now. This is extremely empowering for me, and makes me want to do so much more to support both you, but also be there next time.
Right.
Thanks for saying that, John. And I agree. And I think we talked about this on our last podcast about, having compassion for all. And that includes our adversaries. And Wayne talked about that. And it was part of our nonviolent training. And it was part of, making sure that everyone did stay nonviolent with all the anger and with all the knowledge we have about what's happening and the people that are causing it, that we were going to be right there, on the front lines, right in front of them. And so to prepare to not approach with anger and to prepare to approach with fierce compassion is a really challenging thing to do. And it's the right thing to do. And it's how we win this. We don't win this, violently. We win this by being on the right side on all fronts. And I was very impressed with, that many people who are unexperienced and without, much training were able, in the vast majority of them, were able to do that so well. It was it's like beautiful chaos in a way, but yeah, thanks for making that point.
I think the evidence is the only violent thing they have on footage is a car driving through a fence. That's not even violent,
which is offense.
Not violence against humans, not violence against humans. Yeah.
So I think you guys, incredible.
I was just going to say, somebody in our group chat had said this, and it's something that I've said in regards to like all animals, was that, the other day, we just hope that those dogs somehow felt the love from us and felt that, like, we wish that they could know how many people are fighting for them and what we're trying to do, for them. And I know it's probably impossible, but I just hope that they felt that love, coming from us somehow, because, it was so there, and, we were there for them, and that was it.
I have one quote from Martin Luther King Jr. I wanted to read that somebody put in our group chat today. It said, "Those who are not looking for happiness are the most likely to find it, because those who are searching forget that the surest way to be happy is to seek happiness for others." Mm-hmm. And I think all of us here, just living our lives with this purpose of helping others, of creating happiness in others, is such the path to happiness. And I think that's really important, because it is easy to get tied down by this and let this consume you. And, right now it's just going to, but in general, we want to show people that there's a way to move through the world, both with happiness and with passion and the ability to, put our energy into making an impact and helping others and making this world a healthier, happier, more peaceful place for all beings.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it directly ties to veganism. Like that's what we're trying to do, is pass happiness to others, all other beings. And yeah, every purchase that we make being vegan, we're creating that world with the power of our dollar. And every phone call that we make in this scenario, or share, or donation, or signing the petition, like you are living that and creating the compassionate future that we all want to live in. Like it's up to the little guys and the public to make the changes, because politicians aren't going to. They're too tied up in the money and in their own image. They don't care about the little guys, majority of them. And it shows in this example, and it shows in all of the billions of animals that are dying every single day, or every year.
Right.
A lot of people in our space probably struggle with this. I know I personally have. And looking at my partner, Allie, when so many things are going on badly in the world, and I'll just see her having a beautiful day, going on a walk, being in the sun, smiling, laughing. And I'm going to admit that there have been times where I'm like, how can you be so happy with how fucked up everything is? How can you do this? And she basically replied, how do you think we fix it? And I think two truths can't exist. We can be our fun, happy, joyful selves, and also so many fucked up things can be happening in the world. And I think that it's not ignoring them, and it's not ignoring that they're happening, but I think the more that we can focus on love and compassion and happiness and joy, even around these horrible things, like that person that was at the front of the chaos that seemed calm, cool, and collected, just continuing to have that energy where we go, and remembering that we can love ourselves while still changing the world. I think that's hugely important. And so you guys have the full support of the Vegan Squad team, Jess, Ella. If there's anything that we can do, reach out to me or anyone on the team. We got your back. And I'm so grateful for you putting yourselves on the line and giving the rest of us a reason to put ourselves on the line too. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For you guys. I love you guys tremendously, and I'm so grateful, really.
Yes.
Great for you too. And love you both. I wanted to give you both a big hug. I was like tearing up when y'all were just explaining everything that happened.
So as of now, if someone has listened to this and they feel called or moved to help or support in any way, big or small, SaveTheDogs.io. And is there anything else that you guys have for direct action or support that people can do?
I think the number one is contacting multiple times the governor and the attorney general, demanding the release of the dogs.
And for them, they can get that information at SaveTheDogs.io.
I have to. They've been changing the website, so I'm not 100% sure. But let's try to get those numbers in the show notes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure,
All right,
we can do that. And yeah, and I think Ella, you had like a little script to say in your caption, like on your last few posts, right?
Yes.
Okay.
If you really want to
I'll
help,
copy
if you
that
can't
into
figure
the
out how, contact one of the 4 people on this podcast. We will get back to you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you both. I don't have any more words. Just so much love and gratitude for both of you, and I'm so proud to be a part of the mission that you two have chosen.
I appreciate
Thank
you
you.
all.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone listening or watching.
Yeah. We love y'all. Let's go keep saving the world.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning in to another phenomenal episode of the Vegan Squad Pod. I hope that you're feeling inspired to pursue activism in your own way. That was our goal when we set out to launch this podcast. We want to help inspire other vegans to find their voices. But that's not all we do. We also have the Vegan Squad coaching team, where we help people find their way to veganism and we help vegans get even more fit. This, for me, is another form of activism. The more that we can elevate the lives of the vegans that work with us, the more the rest of the world will see us living our best lives and be a little bit curious. Additionally, every single one of the coaches on the Vegan Squad coaching team is 100% vegan. So you know that by supporting us, you are literally supporting other vegans. Exclusive for listeners of this podcast. If you'd like to work with us and hop on a free call, click the link below. One of our expert coaches will reach out and help you elevate on your fitness journey. If anything that you learned today on this episode was useful to you, please share it with a friend, and we'll see you next week.